you by British University Vietnam.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to travel to a completely different country and live a completely different life? I usually get visions of that in my head, but I've yet to have the chances to confirm my suspicion because I've never gotten a chance to truly study and live in a separate country. But today, I'm inviting into the studio some guests that have lived out that experience, and we're going to get to hear about their experience and also their takeaways from their journey. And without further ado, I'm inviting you guys on this episode of IFO Nightly Show Season 8 Viva la Student Life, featuring Studying Abroad.
Viva Student Life. Come ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome to another episode of IFO Nightly Show, and I am here with the returning and beloved Phoebe. So, she has brought me some very exciting news about government scholarships. Now, I know that government scholarships is on the lips of every student applying to go abroad.
Not on my lips.
Not on your lips? Okay, let's discover that later. But yeah, it's a hot topic. It's a constant topic, and there's been a lot of change, I presume, because everything has to adapt with the times, and studying abroad is now very different compared to back then, before the pandemic. So can you give us the inside scoop on government scholarships?
Sure about them. Well, let's talk about this. You know, I was kind of joking with you when I tell you it's not on my lips. And there's a reason why I'm saying that, right? Because there are a multitude of scholarships. But with regards to government scholarships specifically, you know, what are they? They are basically funds by governmental organizations or, you know, non-governmental organizations sometimes, but mostly governmental organizations to foster bilateral relations and to help disadvantaged people within a less privileged country to be able to receive better education, right? So the reason why I say it's not on my lips is I feel very strongly about this, okay?
Yeah,
and
as you should.
I feel extremely strongly about the fact that if you do not need it, do not apply for it.
And that's fact.
So to reserve those government scholarships for people who really need it, right? Now there are still other scholarships that are not governmental. You know, it's based on, you know, foundations. It's merit only, and it's very prestigious. And you go for those scholarships. But government scholarships, guys, leave it to those who need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like government scholarships is the best known form of scholarship. But how many other forms are there?
Oh, there's so many. There are organizational scholarships. There are institution-based scholarships. So organization scholarships, for example, you know, the Jardine Scholarship or the Rhodes Scholarship, very prestigious scholarships. Or, you know, institutional, you know, within the universities themselves, like every Australian university would probably have some form of scholarships. Similarly, the US universities, Korea, Japan, Japanese universities as well. So these would be institution-based. And there would also be, you know, private scholarships where, you know, I was a lucky recipient of one where, you know, it's organizations and business families who actually, you know, donated money to help, you know, students in need. So multitude of realms of scholarships available, ranging from, you know, a few percentages of the tuition fees to like a full ride, right? 100% tuition fee or 100% tuition fees and, you know, and living costs. And that would be scholarships. There are also fellowships for older people, right? Where, you know, they are paid, you know, both in terms of tuition and living costs to spend a short period of time at a university to upskill. So these would be fellowships, but they're not academic based, meaning they don't get a degree out of it, but they get an experience out of it. So those are fellowships.
That is very, very attractive to me, a fellowship scholarship. So with all that in mind, I think we're already very amped up for all that is to be said about scholarships in this episode. So without further ado, over to Kanvi in our Hanoi studio.
Viva Student Life.
Come ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Next on IFO Nightly Show.
And now please welcome Kate Bartlett.
chào tất cả các bạn. Hi everyone, I'm Kate Bartlett from the U.S. Embassy in Hanoi. It's great to be here with all of you today because we're going to have an exciting program talking about scholarships and how you can apply. Now for me personally, as a Fulbright Scholar, these programs changed my life and I know they will change yours. I've now been to over 65 countries and I speak 5 languages, so I can honestly say that having an international and global perspective is super important. I hope you'll all join the adventure and come with us today to participate in this program. Thanks so much.
And now please welcome Kate Bartlett. Hello, how are
Hi,
you?
MV, how are you?
Please have a sit.
Thank you, good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm very good. I'm so excited to meet you.
Oh, same. I've heard a lot about you and your show, so thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for joining me. And you've just been to Vietnam since August.
Yeah, that's right. I feel very new here, still exploring the country and the culture and the food and everything. So it's a new experience, but so far it's been good. You know, I've got a motorbike that I ride around the city and you know, exploring different restaurants and trying foods like cha kha and you know, all the local coffees. I really like all the different ways Vietnamese people do coffee.
I really like how you feel so excited and the sparkle in your eyes when you talk about the Vietnamese culture.
Oh, yeah.
And you're working in diplomacy.
Yes.
You've been to a lot of countries. So how many countries have you been to?
I think at this point around 65.
65.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
COVID slowed me down a little bit, but I'm hoping that soon everyone will be able to travel more freely and I'll be able to continue exploring. But right now, I'm just happy to be here in Vietnam.
Vietnam is so happy to have you here. I hope that Vietnam treats you well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So now, can you walk me through your job as a diplomat?
Sure. So my job is the Cultural Affairs Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Hanoi, and some people call it a cultural attaché. And so what we do is create educational and cultural programs to connect the people of Vietnam with the people of the United States. You know, a lot of what diplomats do is government to government, and that's very important. It builds our bilateral relationship. But what I do is focusing on the people-to-people ties and making sure that there are ways for Vietnamese people to meet Americans and for Americans to meet Vietnamese people. And we do that through scholarship programs like the Fulbright program, which I know we'll talk about more later, and the exchange programs, and also just cultural opportunities. You know, maybe it's bringing an American band here to Vietnam.
Wow.
Maybe it's a basketball team or some kind of sports competition. So I think we are just really excited to explore collaboration with the government of Vietnam and the people of Vietnam, because that's really what it's all about, is the two countries coming together.
Wow, that's very nice. And I do hope to see more projects coming and to see like the fruitful results as well. So one more question, why did you choose Vietnam among so many countries you've been to?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, it was just a country I had heard a lot about from friends. Everyone had said, Vietnam is the coolest country ever. You have to go there.
Thank you.
And I said, okay, I'll check it out. And I hadn't been to Asia in a very long time. I used to work in Indonesia when I did my Fulbright scholarship back in the day.
And you speak Indonesian as well.
And so I thought, let me give Vietnam a try. And so before I came, I got to study Vietnamese for about 6 months. And so I learned a little bit about Vietnam, but now I'm here and I'm just excited to continue learning about the language and the culture and just enjoy my couple of years here. It's going to be a great adventure.
I feel like you are really immersing yourself in Vietnam and the Vietnamese culture. That's very cool and very fascinating to see. We're going to be talking about some scholarships because, you know, like talking to you, I feel so... a lot of Vietnamese students, they are like, okay, I'm ready to see the world. Just like you, I'm ready to travel the world. But I cannot afford that. Okay, scholarships. But what are some of the best scholarships out there?
Well, first of all, Vietnamese
Yes.
students, I would say there are many, many scholarships. And while I'm here to talk about the United States scholarships, because of course I believe ours are the best, I will say there are a lot of other countries that have scholarships too, and you should check out all the options. You should understand that many countries, many universities have scholarships available. So if you want to study in a different country, please try and please put in your applications, because I think Vietnam will greatly benefit from having global citizens who are exposed to different countries. But of course, about U.S. scholarships, we have so many, it's actually difficult to list them all, so I won't bore you. I will say, if people want more information, they really should go to our U.S. Embassy website, vn.usembassy.gov, because we have, every time we have a scholarship, we put it out there, and it says when you should apply, what you need to do, when's the deadline, and all of that. And so, but just to highlight a couple of opportunities, we have scholarships for high school students to go participate in enrichment programs in the United States. We have scholarships for undergraduate students to do a semester of study in the United States. We have scholarships for professionals and master's degree students to go do a master's degree in the United States, to complete their master's degree. It's a really great program. We have
a lot of options.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to teach Vietnamese in the United States, we have a program for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot more Americans nowadays that want to learn Vietnamese. And so, you know, this is something new that we've opened up. But obviously, the traditional programs like professors doing research or teaching in the United States, and then professionals, you know, if you've got 5 years of professional experience and you want to go design your own course of study and work on your professional connections in the United States, I really think there's something for everyone. And so it's difficult to summarize all of them, but I will say just check it out, because we really want to encourage many people to apply. You know, people from diverse areas, people from cities and from remote areas, people from Ha Giang to Mekong Delta, you know, north and south, everybody. We really want to see diverse applications.
It shows that now the opportunities are for everyone, especially studying abroad. And when the U.S. and the Vietnam is getting a close relationship and connection, is getting easier and accessible. So can you name some scholarships off the top of your head right now?
Sure. So one of the ones we'd like to talk about is the Fulbright program, which has about 10 programs underneath it. But this program I want to highlight is just celebrated its 75th birthday this year worldwide. There are 160 countries that participate in the Fulbright program. And here in Vietnam, this program is so special because it's celebrating next year its 30th birthday. That's a very long time for the U.S.-Vietnam relationship. And so we will be celebrating with some special events and activities. So we'll be sure to invite everybody. Please keep your antennas tuned. But yeah, so far in Vietnam, we have about 1,400 students that have participated in this program.
Wow.
And so, you know, Fulbright is definitely one of what we call our flagship exchange programs. It's prestigious. It's got a great reputation. There's a lot of very important people in Vietnam in different fields who have participated in this program. And it's a very strong alumni network. So when people come back, they don't just, you know, go about their jobs like normal. They connect together and they collaborate and they stay working together as Fulbright alumni. And I think that's one of the strongest points of the program is the network that you join when you become a Fulbrighter.
Definitely. I think Fulbright acquires such a good reputation in Vietnam. And for your information, our producer is also a Fulbright scholar. So we heard a lot about that. And I think that this is such a dream for a lot of Vietnamese students, such a great opportunity. So can you tell me more about the benefits of this scholarship? Like, what will the students get from this?
Well, first of all, we talked about how it's important to engage a diverse group of students. So we are not just looking for students that are able to pay for their own education. We want to make sure that people who are from difficult circumstances can also go and study in a foreign country. And so the first thing that it provides is money, which is very important for a lot of students. It provides a stipend, transportation allowance, plane tickets. It provides your tuition, all expenses paid for the entire program. And so I think that's really important. For a lot of students to understand. We'll cover your visa costs, like a lot of little administrative costs, but also the program will give people an opportunity to engage not only with Americans, but with other international students in the United States. So when you go over to the United States as a Fulbright, you are on an American campus and you get to deal with American professors and students. You get to attend football games and concerts and become part of campus life, just like a normal American college student. But what you also get to do is engage with all of the other students from around the world who have come to the U.S. for the same reasons. And they have seminars and special lectures and engagements so that the Fulbrighters can really connect together and create a network that goes beyond Vietnam, beyond America, but globally. And I think that's really powerful.
Fulbright is
Adventurous.
an incredible experience, a really key part of American diplomacy.
The true purpose of it is to create mutual understanding.
It's rigorous.
It's what you make of it.
Fulbright is this incredible resource.
You don't know how much you're capable of until you're put in certain situations.
It gets you comfortable with the uncomfortable.
It really changes your identity. It gives you a new perspective.
I see it as like a chance to have a big adventure.
You embrace those hardships, you make it your own.
Fulbright is an academic cultural exchange program.
It's for Americans doing study, research, or teaching English for roughly an academic year.
I did my Fulbright in a small Pacific Island country called Kiribati.
And I went to London,
To Malaysia,
Belgium, Senegal,
Jordan,
Cambodia,
India,
Singapore,
the Galapagos in Ecuador.
When I went to Trinidad, my research focused on girls in a juvenile detention center.
Trying to fight hunger and malnutrition in Ethiopia.
Studied high-speed aerodynamics at a small research laboratory outside of Brussels.
Focusing on trivalent chromium and type 2 diabetes.
Working with researchers to understand the impacts from plastic pollution.
Taught 5th through 8th grade students conversational English.
The whole point of my project is to create empathy and understanding and respect for Kiribati people.
It's a life-changing experience.
It's not just your grant year. Fulbright is lifetime.
Fulbright is for everyone. So that means that Fulbright is also for you.
That's very nice. I think this is such a golden opportunity in a lifetime for you to develop as a person and also as a global citizen. So I think that applying for Fulbright is really, really hard, I have to say. So what are some of the requirements for the applicants?
Well, first of all, I'd like to demystify that a little bit, and because I agree, it is hard. It's not easy. It's not like you just, put something in the mail and you're done. But it's not impossible. And everyone has to go through the same procedure. So you're not alone. There are many, many people that also say, wow, this is hard, but they're doing it. And I want to share one quick story, which is that many people apply once and don't get in, and then they apply again. And we see their names again and again. And each year, some of them are putting in more effort, and they are, maybe their essay is better, maybe their interview is better, maybe their IELTS score has gone up. Maybe they have more professional experience. And so for one candidate, they took the interview, they applied for the Fulbright program 4 times before they finally got in. But on the 4th, they finally made it in. And now they're studying in the United States.
Inspiring.
And I'm very inspired by that because it's somebody who says, okay, I know what I want and I'm going to really try. And I'm going to make myself a better candidate each time. And they made it. And so it's not impossible. It is hard, but it's not impossible. But some of the elements that you're going to need are the same as any other scholarship. You know, we'll need your transcripts from university. We'll need letters of recommendation, usually from a professor or from work colleagues, depending on the program, supervisor. We'll also need often something called a study objective. And this is where you tell us, what do you want to do? What is your proposed program? What is your vision and goal about studying in your area? And so that's where you kind of lay out your research or what you want to do in the United States. And then we have this other part that is like a personal statement. And this might be a little unique. I don't know if Vietnamese universities do this, maybe not, but it's kind of an American thing. But what it does is it's your opportunity to tell us what makes you special. So, you know, maybe you come from a difficult background in a mountainous region and you had no access to educational opportunities like you would in a big city, and your parents are farmers, and yet you decided to start learning English at a young age, and you read books every night under your covers. You know, what is your story? How did you come here today? Maybe you have a physical disability. Maybe you're from a minority group. Maybe you have, you just really are like passionate about international affairs and you travel to many countries. Whatever your story is, whatever makes you special, that's your opportunity to tell us. And it's very important. The committees, I know they read it very carefully because they want to feel the candidate through the paper. They want to feel who that candidate is. And then of course, if you're selected for the next round, you'll come in for an interview, or you'll do it virtually sometimes because in our COVID times, modern. But the interview is also important because it's an opportunity, just like the personal statement, to tell us who you really are and why you're so passionate about going on the Fulbright program. And most importantly, when you come back to Vietnam, what will you bring back to your country? Because we want people who are going to be benefiting Vietnam. We want people who are going to be helping their community and who are going to, you know, in whatever field. It could be business, it could be law, it could be the arts. But when they come back, we want to know that they're going to be contributing to Vietnam in a really powerful way. And so we want to hear that in the interviews. And yes, the interviews are in English. And so I know a lot of candidates get very worried about that.
No, but I think like when they already get into the interview round, they have like been so good.
It is true, but almost everyone who we interview says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous."
Do you have any tips for that?
I mean, I think practice is one. Just repeating in front of a mirror about everything, you know, before you come in. Just looking at yourself and being confident and telling your story.
Yes.
Maybe talking to family or friends and practicing and have them give you tips. But we also have a lot of Fulbright alumni who are willing to serve as mentors. And they can help, you know, you understand what kind of interview, what are they looking for, and just read about it, because we have a lot of materials online that can tell you what kinds of questions we ask. It's not like a secret, you know, we want to be open to tell you. We're going to ask you about your future career plans. We're going to ask you about what you will do in the United States. We're going to ask you how you're going to contribute to Vietnam. So I think preparation is definitely it.
And as you mentioned earlier, the Fulbright Network are very strong and powerful and inspiring. So I think it would be a great idea for us right now to connect with a Fulbright scholar and listen to her inspiring stories. Back to Saigon studio. Thảo Tâm, how are you doing?
Ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome back to our Ho Chi Minh City studio, and here with me right now is Vân Possible, and I believe you were a part of the Fulbright student program, and you finished your studies. And can you tell me a little bit about what you studied? What major did you choose?
I took media studies for my master's degree when I were in Fulbright program.
And there is a preconception about the Fulbright scholarship, actually. A lot of people believe that Fulbright scholarship is more geared towards technical subjects and more technical majors. And I don't feel like that is true because there are a lot of art majors and media majors too. So what do you think about this misconception?
Yeah, Fulbright program is has a long history in Vietnam. I believe in since 1992. And over the years, it has progressed and changed a lot. So for example, in my year, we have healthcare, we have business, we have media, we have education. So it's very diverse. It's not just gearing towards technical or business like people think.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background in media studies? Like where did you study? Which school did you choose? And what was your experience like there?
The beauty of taking a master's degree is that you don't have to do exactly, you don't have to take exactly the same major in your undergrad. So in my undergrad, I took international relations because I thought that I wanted to be a diplomat who travel the world and tell story about Vietnam. But then 2 years through the program of my bachelor degree, I realized that I yearn for something more creative. So I participate in other, creative projects like making videos or creating music for environment cause. And working for newspapers, etc. And so also Fulbright program has a rule that you need to work for at least 2 years before you apply for it. So I have worked for 6 years before I applied for Fulbright. And so those working years, I had a chance to interact with a lot of media outlet and product, like producing videos, making YouTube content, creating music for different causes. So that created a sense of passion in me for media production. So I took media as my master's degree major.
It's quite a bold choice, I feel, choosing media as a major for a master's. So what were the deliverables that you had to achieve after the program?
It varies between schools to schools and states to states. In my case, we study more practical. We have a more practical approach to media. So we have a section about media theories where you have to learn theories that that older media theorists have established. But then also we have a practicing section where you gotta film a film, you gotta put together an audio production. So it's very balanced between theory and practice. Yeah.
I myself am currently an art and media student here at Fulbright University. So I understand that Fulbright University is a very different, a very separate entity even of the Fulbright student program. But I feel like there is a very consistent spirit within the Fulbright collective, and that is the spirit of liberalism. We are very liberal and we are very intellectually curious and very interdisciplinary. Did you feel that interdisciplinary when you embarked on your media studies? Was it exclusively media, or was it like very collaborative with other fields?
I think it really depends on how you design and curate your experience. Because people who went to different schools in different states will have different experience. In my case, I went to New York City, one of the most vibrant cities in the world. And besides going to the library, going to school and meeting friends from all over the world, I gotta go to Broadway and go to different talk shows where they invite like the state of art or leading people in different sectors. So I think the experience is very interdisciplinary. If you know how to curate and choose what you like to collect as an experience.
Everybody who I know
that have talked about their time in New York has talked with so much love and so much yearning for that time. So let's stray away from like the technical side of things a bit, and let's talk about your own personal experience in that time. Did you enjoy your time in New York? Was it fun for you, or was it stressful in any way?
It's stressful because I couldn't find good Vietnamese food.
Yep, I understand that.
But in every challenge, we are presented with opportunities. Also, New York is very fast-paced. People have to work really hard to pay the rent and the bills. So having an authentic and deep connection with friends that you meet there is a challenge. But besides that, you are presented with so many opportunities like the musicals, the shows, the work experience, the work opportunities. Especially like I'm interested in you know, exhibition, shows, musicals. So it's a perfect place for me to explore.
Wow, you seem to have lived my dream. I feel like I would give a lot to be at Broadway, just watching all the musicals back to back, because it's such a dream, you know. And to be able to have that opportunity, it's probably a very big thanks to the Fulbright student program. But if you can give our viewers one tip in surviving and thriving in a multicultural environment like that, what would it be?
Cook really well.
Cook really well, okay.
We have a saying in Vietnamese, có thực mới vượt được đạo, or love comes through the stomach, the belly. I actually win a lot of international friends' heart because I cook. I make bún chả or phở, and then I invite them over for dinner, and they enjoy the food so much. They think Vietnamese food is so delicious, very balanced, has a lot of veggie and very tasty. And so over a course of a dinner, you gotta share about, you know, other cuisine like Indian food, and you talk about experience of friends who come from everywhere in the world. And so if I have to give a tip, cook well and you will have many good friends.
So there you have it, Vân Possible, bringing her own culture into the world, and also her passion for her deep yearning for creativity. You embarked on this journey because you wanted an outlet for that creativity, and you realized that there was a field that you wanted to conquer beside your previous studies. And it's very interesting that you mentioned you didn't have to follow through with your undergrad studies onto a major choice, because that was something that I was very curious about. Like, I felt like to learn a master's, you had to have an undergraduate background in that same area. But was it difficult when you switch fields like that?
I think it's very popular nowadays that you can take another major when you do master degree, which is different from your bachelor degree. Yet, you need to have working experience in that field. For example, you cannot do international relations and work in international relations and then apply for media studies, because master degree is the time for you to hone your experience, your working experience, and take all of that experience and make it to another level, so that when you graduate, you can make even bigger impact with your work. So you need working experience.
So it's a very gradual process, even though it's a shift, but it's a gradual shift also. So take note, you guys, that's a very important note to take. And thank you so much for sharing with us your very endearing experience in New York.
Thank you, you too.
And could you briefly describe the process of applying for the Fulbright student program to us?
I'm not very good at remembering things, and it was 4 years ago, so let me try my best. Briefly, you need to prepare 2 essays. The first essay is your personal statement. So it's like a short essay to introduce about yourself, your passion, who you are, why you deserve a chance to win this scholarship. The second essay is study objective. So you need to plan out why you want to choose this major and what is your plan applying that major into your work when you come back. So 2 essays, you need 3 letters of recommendations. And the more diverse of people you can get the recommendation, the better. You can get it from your boss, from your supervisor in studying, in work, or you can get it from extra curriculum supervisor. So make it diverse so that people see a bigger picture of you through this letter. And then you also need your transcript, and then you need your graduation, I would say college degree.
Yeah.
So actually I applied for Fulbright twice, and the first time I forgot that degree.
Oh, no.
So I was not even considered to park my bike.
Yeah.
So remember to have a checklist and check all the boxes and make sure that you have a complete application package.
I'm very surprised that it's not more comprehensive. Like I thought the application process would be more difficult.
That was the first round. And then after you get into the second round, it's gonna be interviewing. So you're gonna meet a panel of about 3 to 4 people who gonna interview you, and they're gonna discuss with you about your plan, and basically they want to see you in real person and see if you're the right person, the right match for Fulbright. And then if you got into the next round, which is the final round, you need to work on choosing the schools that you want to attend, and it's a long process. And then when it's final, then the school accepts you and you like the school, then it's a match. And then you go to that school.
So very interesting process, I think, because like the way you describe it, I'm getting that the final stage, the school choosing part, is the longest.
Yeah, it's the longest because colleges in the US operate on themselves. They have different deadline, they have different admission policy, and when you submit your application in the first round, you need to state your 4 preferred school. But then when you go to the last round, maybe the school that you like the most like you the second. And then the school that you like the least like you the most, for example. So that's a long process, and it's not an easy time, but you sure will remember it, because now I remember it very well among all the other process, because it takes a lot of thinking and envisioning if you like to be in a small city or a big city, you like to lay on the middle and see the cow next to you, or you want to see a skyscraper. So it's a very interesting process.
It's very interesting to know that there's a lot of planning and a lot of consideration from both parties when it comes to this process. So to sum up, firstly, the first round is quite brief in terms of what is required, but do not forget your materials, you guys. Have a checklist. Second round is an interview, be yourself, and present yourself well, and compatibility is what they assess.
Be sincere.
Be sincere. And the last round is a back and forth process of consideration in what school to choose. And that's it, that's the process.
Ta đều sinh ra với những số phận khác nhau, những cánh em muốn vươn mình trước trời gió đầy khát khao. Và chẳng cần cậu phải nói một lời nào, mình vẫn cảm nhận được một trái tim đầy hoài bão, háo hức và nôn nao. Ignite your passion to light the way. Với thành công ta nắm chặt trong tay. Ignite your passion to fly away. Mình cùng nhau xây thế giới ngày mai. Come and ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Next on IFO Nightly Show.
Welcome back to Voice of the Week, and this week's topic is about international travels.
Welcome back to Voice of the Week, and this week's topic is about international travels and international scholarship. So we have a very special guest. She's a recurring guest, and her name is Hương Nghiêm, right? So can you introduce yourself briefly to the camera, please?
Hello everyone, this is Hương Nghiêm, and this is my pleasure to be here today. I've been working and living in Saigon for 3 years. Basically, I'm Hanoyan, and cool to see you, Thảo Tâm, today.
Okay, without further ado, Vân Possible, please give Hương her prompt.
Okay, your question is, one of the eligibility requirement of Fulbright scholarship for student is 2 years of work experience since graduation. Discuss on this point.
All right, thank you for your question. I think this is also the concern of many parents and students when they graduate. Speaking from a person that also worked in Vietnam and studied abroad already, I do support this. Firstly, you know, like 2 years of working help you to define your profession and career path. Meanwhile, you know, like academic knowledge in universities are very different from the real life work experience, and only if you immerse yourself in work, tasks, responsibilities, you know whether you have enough passion for this job, for this career path, and then you will have chance to well prepare for the trip, for this scholarship, so you can like make a list of what society overseas that you like to join in, who you like to meet, or what kind of course you like to develop to improve yourself in that. So I do believe that it will make your trip more meaningful, helpful, and support to your future. And the second point, I think, apart from the work, also about your personality and your ability, I mean like soft skills. You will escape from your comfort zone in university, surrounded by your friends at the same age. You work, and then you have to deal with people from different backgrounds, different level, and then you will have more adaptiveness, responsibilities, and you know, competitiveness to raise your voice, like to show yourself. And you know, like with all of that, you will be a mature version, and then you can handle with many problems, many difficulties when you study and live abroad, and then you are easier to blend in the culture, the international environment. So let's say, I know there are some special cases that students have also like good background and then experience even they are still in university. However, in general, I think 2 years of working after graduation is very suitable because you are still young enough to be hungry to discover the world, but also wise and experienced enough to know what to take in, like the best advantages from the trip. So let's say, if you want to reach the goal in the easiest way, let's have the Google Map in hand. You make it easier. Right.
Oh, wow. A near perfect participation. I'll reserve my comments and let Vân Possible give her feedbacks.
I love your passion when you talk about this topic. I love your point when you talk about the reason that working for a few years before. I love when you talk about the benefits of working for a few years before embarking on a master's degree, a totally new experience. I agree. I couldn't agree more with all the things that you learn when you work that you couldn't learn when you were in the university with friends, with peers at the same age, right? And then you're surrounded by teachers, like loving environment and books and exercises and midterms and finals. When you enter the real world and you work, there are so much more things that we are presented with, like deadlines, like clients, like briefs, like problems that require more collaboration. And I love to use the word real world, like you are presented with the real world and you gotta solve the problem. So I love I love your answer, and I love how you organize it very clearly, point 1 and then point 2, so that people can understand your points and may give comments like what I'm doing right now.
Thank you so much, chị Vân Possible, for your comments, and chị Hương Nghiêm for your participation. And you are officially in the running to become Voice of the Year, where you have the chance to win a trip to the UK valued at 100 million VND. Whoa. No kidding. No kidding.
Good luck.
And I'm so excited for you too, and so excited about this episode in general. It's very fun. And thank you so much for joining us for Voice of the Week, IFO Nightly Show, Season 8.
Viva Student Life. Ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Thank you so much for coming onto the show and using your experience, showcasing it to us and letting us use it as a case study for a government scholarship. So this entire episode was dedicated to expanding our knowledge and our comprehension of government scholarships. But also, it was so meaningful to have your advice and your experience here with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so if you have one final remark, one final advice to those looking to apply for these scholarships, what would it be?
I just think that it's a long process with sweat and pain and a lot of sleepless nights, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So if you want it, go for it. All the best.
Right? And that has been the amazing Vân Possible. Thank you so much, and that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in on IFO Nightly Show, Season 8, Viva Student Life. But for now, bye! Bye! So today here with me is Vân Possible and her spirit of conquering new things and venturing into the unknown. So,
Yes, một lần nữa.
Hi you guys, it's another episode of IFO Nightly Show, and this episode is a very special episode because we are going to hone in on government scholarships. With me right now is chị Vân Possible. Xin lỗi.
Chắc là lúc mà em nói xong chị mới vô đi chứ.
Dạ,
Đứng khúc đó.
Dạ, okay.